What's up guys, Kevin Wynn here again with KTX Photography, your friendly Central Texas photographer. So, as you may know, last week was July 4th, the U.S. Independence Day. America. America. Still can't believe I watched that movie in theaters. So, like most people, I got that day off from work. Some of my friends went out to Auditorium Shores near downtown Austin and watched the Austin Symphony and Fireworks show. So it was my first time actually going to Auditorium Shores for the fireworks show. In previous years, I just watched it from on top of parking garages from far away. But this year, I wanted to get close and personal so I could take some nice fireworks pictures. And my fiance and I also brought our dogs with us, and both of them kind of freaked out. But I think in the end they had a good time. He may still be a little mad at me. Okay, so some tips for fireworks photography. Number 1, numero uno. Come early and prepare. I actually did not do a great job with this. The symphony started playing at 8:30 and the fireworks show started playing at 9:30 because I said I was gonna get there at 7. I showed up about 9 o'clock. The crowd had gotten really big and it was hard to navigate through all those people, especially walking 2 dogs and lugging my camera equipment around. So be sure to get there early. Number 2. Decide what lens to use. Now this really depends on what you're trying to achieve with your shots. So if you're trying to get nice wide landscapes with some people in it and maybe several fireworks across the sky, you probably want to go with a wide angle or ultra wide angle. For these types of shots, I chose my Canon 17-40 f4L. And then, if you want to take some close-up shots of single fireworks explosions and a focal length that's a little more close-up, for me, I chose my 50mm f1.4. I tried out my 135mm f2L, but that didn't work out so well. Number 3. Settings. First and foremost, you want to be in manual focus for sure. I tried autofocus just for funsies and it did not work. It's pretty much impossible. You want to fine-tune your shutter speed, ISO, and aperture settings. I'd want to make aperture probably the highest priority out of those 3 settings. I took a lot of wide-angle shots, so I wanted a higher f-stop number for those shots to get more depth of field and have more subjects in focus. And after that is ISO. An ISO setting between 1000 and 2000 should still be very usable. You're going to get some noise, but you can clean that up in post, and I'll show you that later in this video. And what ISO you set really depends on what your shutter speed is going to be, which brings me to our next topic, shutter speed. And so this really depends on what type of effect you want. If you want to freeze the firework in its explosion, then you want to use a faster exposure. But I personally like the effect of having a long exposure. Basically, lights streaking across the sky in the explosion. I think it looks really cool, and I think most people like it that way also. So you can choose anywhere from 1 to 3 second exposure, depending on how much streaking you want, I suppose, or how much of the light, the trailing light effect that you want in your picture. Also, this will probably depend too, what kind of shot you're taking. So with my wide angle shots, I did want the people to be somewhat in focus. The nice thing about a fireworks show is that most people are standing there just staring at the sky, and so they're staying relatively still. I stayed usually around 1.6 to 2 seconds shutter speed. Number 4. When the fireworks show first starts, getting your focus point just right is a little tricky. Take several test shots with the first few fireworks before it gets too exciting. Number 5. Shoot in high-speed continuous mode. The thing I realized is that the fireworks show goes really fast when you're having so much fun taking pictures. So once you get all your settings down, your focus is right, just sit there, hold the button, and let the camera keep on shooting, and take several shots in a burst. Check your shots, make sure it's still good, and just keep going. Each firework is different in the amount of light it gives out, in the distance it is, how high it goes. So really you want to have a lot of pictures to choose from, because most likely a lot of them won't turn out great because of such a variation in lighting and distance. Number 6. Post-production. Now, there actually isn't much post-production required for these. It's a dark setting. There's a lot going on as far as light goes, but there's not much you can do as far as changing the effect of the fireworks. It's going to be a lot of highlights that you really can't do much to because they're so bright. What we can do is take out some shadows in the subjects and change the tone a little bit if desired. But I found that a lot of these pictures came out pretty good the way they were. So let's go on real quick and I'll show you the few things I did in Lightroom to make these pictures look a little bit better. Okay, so some things I want to show you guys before I go into the actual post-processing are some pictures of different shutter speeds that I took. The first one here you'll see 1.3 seconds. This looks pretty cool. We got some nice streaks across during the firework explosion, and it has a pretty nice effect. And there's another one here that's in the process of exploding. But when we step up to about 3.2 seconds, it does get a little bright. Now, I could have increased my f-stop number to not make this so intense. But also, if you're taking a wide-angle shot especially, 3.2 might be a bit much, because you can see the people here. There's a guy standing right in front of me. He was moving, and so it got pretty blurry. And so this is all about luck too. I mean, you could have been standing perfectly still just as much, so you don't really know what's going to happen. This is a 5-second shutter speed, so this is a lot longer. And you can see that the effect now is kind of losing its appeal. The streaks are super long, and maybe I didn't capture it at the right moment, but I mean, I took 2 at 5 second, and it was just a bit much for my liking. So I ended up using 2 second, and this was pretty much the way I like to see it. Got a good amount of brightness and some nice some light streaking, some nice effects and stuff, and you get a bunch of fireworks all put together, and you can see the people are pretty well in focus. You can see, like, this guy, he moved quite a bit, but he's in the dark, so you can't really tell. But I would consider this person right here probably my main person subject, since he's taking up quite a bit of the frame. So first thing we can do, and first thing I almost always do, is increase the contrast a bit. You can see it darkens up the picture a little bit, and then we can increase the exposure a bit to get a little more light into the picture. You can see a nice little glow across the horizon. I personally like that. I think that's pretty cool. And I like to see a little more highlights in the picture than what was originally there, right? To give more of that kind of glowing effect. So let's go back. Okay, so now we have a little more exposure. We can take our highlights and kind of move them around a bit. And like I said, I like a little bit more brightness. I'm just gonna increase it up to 10 about, and I want to have a little less shadows because I want to have a little more light in this area, and I think that would look really cool. So we're gonna go ahead and bring down the shadows a bit, or I'm sorry, bring up the shadows a bit, to a certain degree, like about 40. That was about where I like it. And so your white points, usually I just want to go back a little bit on the white. And the blacks, I kind of want some deeper blacks, just a little bit deeper blacks as well. Okay, and then clarity. Clarity is really, I believe, really subjective. So I mean, it depends what you like. You can kind of go on both ends and see which effect you really like. I personally think a little more clarity is nice, but if you like the softer touch, then you can go all the way to the other side and get kind of soft. And this kind of has its own pretty cool look in itself. But I definitely like to add a little bit of clarity, add a little bit of effect, and make it look kind of cool. Vibrance, I mean, I don't know how much this will do. This has a little bit of effect. All right, looks kind of cool about right here. I want to saturate just a tad bit. Not too much, okay? So I think it looks pretty cool. So let's look at it really quick without the basic effects that we just added here. Oh, wrong. Oops. So yeah, let's just look at it without, before and after the basic effects we just added. So reset there. There, you can see, or I can go over here, and you can see the difference. This one just pops out a little bit more. So let's look at the before and after, just with these basic changes in the tones and the highlights and the shadows. And you can see the picture pops just a bit more. So it looks pretty cool. So let's go back to our other view, and then let's also go down to let's see if we can play around with the the hue and the saturation and luminance. We can kind of, if we want a little more green, the grass does look a little yellow, and maybe that's the way it should be because the firework is actually yellow, but let's just see what this does. If we bring down luminance on green, it doesn't even affect, it's probably going to be on yellow. Oh, you see it actually increases the stuff over here. Let's see if we can saturate green a little bit. No? Yellow? Orange. There we go. Okay, so let's just go ahead and go back down to, okay, so now we got the basics kind of down. Let's go back down to HSL, your hue, saturation, luminance. Now this whole picture is kind of has an orange tint to it, so you'll probably get the most effect off the orange hue. And you can see, yes, so you can see as you increase and decrease this orange hue, you get more of a green down to a red. And this is, again, kind of to your liking. I kind of like a red tint for it as well. So I don't know if you want to saturate orange a little bit. No, it doesn't look very nice. It doesn't look. I don't really like that either. I think right where it was is just fine. So we'll reset that. Let's go to luminance. See what that does. So we can kind of illuminate or dim the orange, but again, I do like a little bit of luminance in there. This is almost the same as, this looks like it almost has the same effect as increasing your highlights. So, although I do like it a little more, actually, it looks pretty good. That might be a bit too much. So yeah, a little bit there. And pretty much the only thing I think we would do else is, you can see, because of all the increase in exposure and taking out the shadows, you can see that we've introduced a lot more noise into this picture, like a lot more. So we can definitely take a lot of that out. You can go ahead and zoom in here. You can see all the noise in there. So you want to go ahead and bring up your luminance until you get most of that noise out. It might even require all the way. And if you put too much, then this guy is going to look pretty blurry because it still has a long exposure, and any slight movement is going to cause him to look blurry. So. But you can see it kind of smooths out this whole area a bit much, so you don't want to go too much. Okay, so now let's just go. The only thing the only thing I probably want to do, okay, so the only thing I probably have left to do here is noise reduction. From taking out the shadows and increasing our exposure, we actually introduce a lot of noise into this picture. You can see it very well when you zoom into this guy's shirt. So lots of noise in there. You can see it over here too. So what we want to do is bring the luminance for noise reduction up quite a bit to get a lot of that noise out. You won't go too far. You go like 100%, you see that all this looks just very kind of blurred and very almost like butter sort of, and so you don't go too much there, and because grass starts to lose its texture as well. We want to get a little bit of sharpening up as well, so we can get some of that grass back also. So yeah, that's about it. One other thing we can give a shot at, and I'm not sure how well this is going to work, but we can try spot removal and try to get some of this smoke out. The smoke is not very appealing either. Just get this really, really huge circle here, and just click on it. And we want to go somewhere over to the sky where there isn't smoke, right? So we can go. It's going to automatically go over here, and obviously that's going to work. So we'll go over here. See how that looks. Not too well. Oh well, it looks okay. So let's hit done and see what it looks like. This might be a better job for Photoshop, to be honest. This is kind of exactly what Photoshop is for. Lightroom, you can do it. It's a little more straightforward. You just click on a circle and then, put it somewhere else. So it's a little more simple in that sense. But Photoshop would definitely do a much better job of this than Lightroom would. But we're gonna go ahead and finish this here, and this might not even look great in the end. So I might end up just taking it all out. Okay, there it goes. Over there. Okay. It really just seems to be making sort of a blur of gray in the sky. I don't think this is going to look too good in the end. This is just too much area to try to spot remove. Usually spot removal is best for like taking out blemishes on a close-up portrait or headshot you're doing. Or taking out these minor imperfections, not usually this whole gray sky kind of thing. It looks okay, but you can pretty much tell that this has been altered, and you don't want that kind of look. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these. Take those out. And yeah, if you want to, I won't want. This is a. It's probably best saved for another tutorial, but yeah, I think Photoshop would probably be the best thing to edit the smoke out of this picture, make it look just a lot more appealing. Because right now, the smoke kind of doesn't really add such a nice appeal to this photo. So. So that's about it, guys. This is pretty much all I did for this picture, and as always, feel free to subscribe. So that's about it, guys. That's about all I did to this picture, and you can see, let's hit done here. You can see the before and after. It definitely has a lot more pop to it, a lot more interesting things, a lot more interesting lighting happening. After the post production. So. But you can tell it wasn't really that much. I mean, this in a few minutes. So yeah. So yeah, if you want. So yeah. So yeah, as usual, feel free to subscribe if you want to keep up with my videos. Make sure to find me on Facebook and help my Facebook and YouTube channel grow. And I don't do this for a business yet. I'm trying to. So any help. So until next time, I'll catch you guys later. So until next time, I'll see you guys later.